Me 28F and 26M boyfriend ignored my agonizing cries last night after my surgery. Been together for 13 months, living together for 10. So I got lipo 360, abdomen, below the bra line, flanks, upper, and lower back. It looks like I've been hit by a truck and it's hard to move, sit up, lay down, change my dressings, get things around the house, go to the bathroom. I flew to Miami to get it done and my mother took care of me down there in a hotel for the first 4 days. Now I'm back home. Last night, post-op day 4, he picks me up from the airport at 1 a.m., flight was delayed, and we immediately are fighting. He went to the wrong gate, terminal to pick me up, which is fine, but instead of driving around the lanes again, he tells me to come find him or else it'll take me 20 minutes to circle back around. He was being so passive-aggressive when he said it too. I told him I'm not fucking walking around in 7-degree weather at 1 a.m. at an airport post-surgery to find you. Only took him 5 minutes to circle back around. When we get home he immediately goes to bed because he has work the next day and because he feels hurt that I talked to him that way and that I told him in the car that I feel like I'm not going to be able to actually recover at home. I still needed to get out of the tight bodysuit to use the bathroom and change my dressings. I also needed help with opening my luggage, getting my meds, various other things like that. He's laying on the couch. I'm sobbing, like that visceral, I'm tired and in pain physically and emotionally type of pain. He asked if I was okay in his passive-aggressive tone, and I didn't respond to that. It was like he was on some weird power trip listening to me struggle, knowing I needed to ask him for help. I've never experienced such a lack of empathy in my life. I was crying out of frustration and pain and confusion for probably an entire hour. He didn't check on me once. I hobbled past him at one point while I was crying and said we weren't renewing the lease next month because I was so hurt by this. That's the only thing that got him off the couch and into the spare bedroom so he could sleep in peace. Before surgery I had told him I was worried he wouldn't be able to help me as much as I think he'd need to since he works so much. He says that hurts his feelings that I must think he's so incompetent. Another part of the reason I feel he's unreliable and doesn't really care about me, I guess, is because day before yesterday, he mentioned wanting to go skiing the day after I get home. So that had also already set the tone for my arrival the next day. He thinks I'm ungrateful because he did a list of to-do things to prepare for my arrival while I was gone. Which were household chores that needed to be done anyway: clean, remove the dead Christmas tree from the house, get his big Xmas gift out of the middle of the kitchen, put one sheet on a bed, grocery shop, and take a look at my car. Still thanked him for all of it, regardless. But like nothing in the house was set up to help ergonomically so I wouldn't have to reach, twist, or bend so much for the coming weeks. When he gets his migraines I wait on him hand and foot and ensure he has everything he needs. I do it with love because I want to, even if he isn't the nicest, cause I know people can be moody when they're in pain. I just can't even imagine laying in bed for an hour trying to sleep, while my freshly post-op partner is screaming and crying in agony in the next room over. When I was taking care of myself last night it hit me that I was just done with him. This was it. I don't want to speak to him again, let alone ask for help. What do I even do with this? Update. Turns out he didn't get any groceries and he hasn't even called, texted to check on me. Second update. Thank you to all the ladies and gentlemen who reached out with caring words and sympathetic perspectives. You rest and recover now and then surgically remove him from your life once you can do so. He has shown you who he is, believe him. You moved in together pretty fast, and now you're finding out that he's not attentive when you need help. So, you recover, and while you do, consider if this was a blip or a pattern. Think about what he would do if you have a child. Think about what he will do if you become ill. And then decide what you want. You should not have traveled home after 4 days. I honestly can't believe a surgeon okayed this. It's normally 2-4 weeks before you can travel after a tummy tuck. Moving in with someone after 3 months is mind-boggling. At least now you know after only 13 months, he isn't the one for you. Since this is a relationship advice spot, don't move in with someone after 3 months of dating. Like that's still the honeymoon phase. A person's true color takes time to come through. That being said, I'm so sorry you're stuck with an incompetent boss with no empathy. I hope your recovery goes well and I wish you a life free of BS. Does he have any feelings about your surgery that are translating into how he's reacting? Was he supportive of you getting it? Is there any financial impact to him? Or is he simply someone who doesn't want to be helpful to you when you are suffering? I would be concerned in the future if you were to have kids that he may be less than willing to be helpful. My husband, 33M, is upset with me, 32F, for reading. My husband and I have been married for almost 10 years. The other day my husband went out to start my car, and my phone was connected to my car Bluetooth and an audiobook I had been listening to started to play. He didn't say anything in the moment, but later I was at work and he started texting me about me reading, questioning why I was reading and why I hadn't told him I was reading it. He started to question whether I bought the books or not. I didn't, because we're doing a no-spend month, so he has our credit cards held aside right now. At first I thought he was just curious, but then he kept going and asking what else I was reading about and how long I have been doing this. When I got home I was going to let it go, but he brought up my books again, asking if my new therapist had suggested I start reading. He actually seemed upset and agitated and insinuated that I was hiding this from him. My therapist didn't specifically suggest reading, but had given advice to try and find a hobby or two that could be just for me, since I'm a busy mom. I thought it was standard to read a book without it needing to be a huge deal. How could I explain this to him so I can keep my hobbies without feeling bad? ETA. A few people have asked what book I was reading. It's a memoir by a chef Ina Garten about her life. Nothing smutty or weird about it, so I think it was less the actual book and more that I hadn't talked to him about it. Also, a few people have asked about the credit cards. That isn't always the case. We are trying to save money after the holidays by doing the low spend thing for a few months, so he put the cards away. Unless I need it I can have it for things like gas and groceries. It's just miscellaneous spending that we're trying to not do. This is absolutely not normal of him. I read all the time and my husband has never been annoyed at me. This comes off extremely controlling and a little alarming. He's upset you're in therapy, you're engaging in self-help and self-improvement, and you're enjoying something that doesn't revolve around pleasing him. I can't imagine a partner interrogating me on how long I've been reading books. What, is literacy outlawed for married women? Let me guess, despite the marriage being on very thin ice, he won't do couples counseling because he doesn't have a problem? His reaction isn't about reading, it's about control. What? This is crazy. Curious now what you were reading. Is your husband Gaston? Just left a controlling marriage. My husband would get very upset over me reading. Because I was relaxing, enjoying myself? Don't know for sure, but he threw a book of mine against a wall, would tell me I wasn't allowed to sit in certain locations to relax, etc. I, 25F, found my husband's 28M secret phone. I am looking for some advice on whether or not I should confront my husband about a phone I have found in my apartment. So let's start with the backstory. I have been with my husband for 5 years and married for 3 out of those years. Recently I thought I was going mad because I could hear a phone vibrating like a notification was being received. I spoke to my husband about it and brought it up when I could hear it and we were in the same room. He said he couldn't hear anything and that it could be one of the other apartments around us. We do have thin walls. I let the matter drop until a few days ago when I could hear something ringing and vibrating almost non-stop. So I went hunting around for this phone thinking it could be possibly an old phone that had been left on, or it was really another flat. As I was looking it began ringing and it was coming from my husband's nightstand. I opened the drawer and the sound got louder and I reached in and found a phone. It showed on the screen several missed calls and notifications from various apps. I couldn't unlock it and decided against trying to get into it further. I put it back and tried to give my husband the benefit of the doubt and that there must be a simple explanation for this. But I can't think of a reason to have a secret phone unless something is not right. He doesn't have a work phone and my husband is in the habit of selling old phones, so I don't think it's that. What would you do in my situation? Also, is there anything I could do to find out what is on this phone? I want to talk to him about it, but I am scared of his reaction and what might happen after. I am also using a friend's account to get some opinions as my husband loves Reddit. Since posting I went to try and look for the phone, but it has been moved. A little update. I found the phone, I emptied my bin and it was underneath the bin bag, but its screen is smashed and I can't even turn it on and the SIM card is missing. I guess I'm never finding out what was on it. Thank you for all the advice. My husband got home from work and I asked about the phone. He said it was a friend's phone, that he accidentally broke. When I asked what friend it took him a minute to answer, kind of feel like he just made up a name. He has had this phone for months. If it was a friend's he would have returned it. I told him to find a way to show me that I can trust him and this phone is what he says or we can get a divorce. He stormed out and I told him I don't want to talk about this until he is going to be honest. He is A. cheating, B. an assassin, C. a spy, D. a cheating assassin spy. First of all, trust your gut. I'm sorry he is lying to you. I would calmly confront him about it and ask him to unlock the phone in front of you. Hide the phone. See what happens when he starts looking for it. I mean, what apps were the notifications from? More importantly, you already gave him the benefit of the doubt when you brought up the noise and he pretended not to know what it could be and suggested that it must be from another apartment. If this phone was NBD, that was his opportunity to say, oh, that's probably my other phone that I'm using for X purpose. That he didn't means he's hiding it from you, poorly, for some reason. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt, now. He's being sketchy, and he lied to you. Now he needs to explain himself. There is a simple explanation, and that simple explanation is that he's being sketchy with you because he's cheating. If he has a different explanation, he needs to provide it. A hidden cell phone vibrates loud enough to be heard in the house. I bet his passcode is 1234. The fact he tried to gaslight you when you both clearly heard it is a big red flag and tells you he's trying to hide it. That he's dumb enough not to keep it silent is another one. 29F I broke up with my 30M boyfriend over his female best friend. As the title says, I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago over his female best friend. A little background, we have been together 4 months. When we first started dating, he mentioned he had a female friend. Let's call her Karen. He met Karen only a year ago and states the friendship is platonic and they never had feelings for each other. He said when they first met, she may have liked him but over time they grew closer as friends and he swears nothing ever happened between them. Initially, I had no problem with this. He suggested I meet her and I was okay with that. She doesn't live in our state so the plan was for her to visit and we would meet then. No issues. It wasn't until a month into our relationship, I was using his phone for something. We were at an event and my phone had died. I see a text from her pop up. He had sent her a text saying, "Missing you tongue out." To which she replied with crying emojis and hearts, saying miss you too and can't wait to visit. I confronted my boyfriend about this, and said hey what's this about, it's kinda inappropriate to tell another female that you miss her especially with a flirty emoji. They also had been texting more and more frequently and I told him I wasn't comfortable. I said I think some boundaries should be established going forward and that he shouldn't be texting her so much and that flirty emojis are not okay. He apologized and agreed, we were on the same page. Over the holidays, boyfriend and I vacationed together. During this time, he received several texts from Karen. My boyfriend told me about the texts and he ignored them as he was busy with me. Karen proceeded to send double texts. Karen also proceeded to post a throwback picture from a few months back of just him and her on her Instagram, and the way they were standing together in the photo made it seem like they were a couple. At this point I became frustrated. I told my boyfriend it seems as if Karen is needy for your attention. I told him it's possible Karen may have feelings for him. He agreed at the time and I reminded him of my boundary. I told him he needs to set a boundary with her by not responding as her texts are being too needy. She even sent him a message on Instagram after he already ignored her text messages saying, "Bestie, when can I see you?" I told him this is beginning to be too much and making me uncomfortable. I also found a photo album that she made of just photos of the two of them from a few months ago. In the photos it looked as if they were a couple. He denied it and said they were just friends once again. I said these photos look like more than just friends. He continued to deny it but said he understood my boundary and said he wasn't going to bother replying to her multiple messages and DMs. Well, fast forward to last week. My boyfriend decided to text her out of the blue, at 11 p.m. while he was in bed with me. He sent me screenshots of their conversation. He basically asked her how she was doing and she again began asking for him to come visit her. Confused, I told my boyfriend what happened to the boundary. I also told him, why the hell are you randomly thinking about her at 11 p.m. at night, so much to where you are hitting her up? At this point I broke up with him. It appears that even though he denies any emotional attachment, they just seem too friendly with one another. Despite me voicing my concerns, he continues to fight with me about this saying she's just a friend and nothing more. I'm hurt because I know if it was the other way around, he definitely would not be okay with me having a male friend this close. He has been gaslighting me, telling me that I'm being insecure and don't trust him. I told him it's not about trust, it's her behavior is too friendly for my comfort. I also tried explaining to him that I have no issue with him having female friends. It's just Karen in particular because the way she is clingy and needy. Ultimately I told my boyfriend I'm sorry but at the end of the day this friendship has RLLY made me uncomfortable and I feel like him going out of his way to text her at 11 p.m. has crossed my boundary. Has anyone ever gone through this before? Any advice is needed. I am hurt and confused. I feel like his friend is out of line. I think you did the right thing by ending the relationship. You already communicated your feelings and established boundaries yet he still crossed them. I'm glad you respect yourself enough to let him go. They will be dating in a few months. You made the right decision. Your behavior shows you are not insecure, but rather secure enough in your worth to know that when you're uncomfortable it's okay to walk away. I don't get the impression by anything you've mentioned in this post that you don't trust him. Rather that you don't feel the need to be put in a place of competing for his time and emotional connection by Karen's attention-seeking behavior. It's very likely that she still has feelings for him, even if he doesn't reciprocate them, and will continue to want to disrupt your relationship in hopes of eventually winning him. I think sending her a message while in bed with you would bother most people. He met Karen only a year ago and stated the friendship is platonic and they never had feelings for each other. He said when they first met, she may have liked him. What? Rolling on the floor laughing. The relationship of your boyfriend and his bestie are a dumpster fire. Just close the lid and walk away. Texting her while in bed with you is just gross and horrible. There's a part of me that wants to say texting a good friend at 11 p.m. and sharing it all with you doesn't seem like that big of a crime. But given everything else? Yeah, she's in love with him, and he has her on his hook. He loves the attention she gives him and loves knowing deep down that she's in love with him, but doesn't actually like her back. That's why he thinks it isn't a big deal, but in reality it's not fair to her or you. Besides, if she's a best friend he should be able to talk to her about those boundaries and she should be able to understand.